Boom, boom. How's it going? It is ITJ, and yeah, I am out again, coming out straight live to you in M5 Property Addicts, talking about property. And I do property every day in the company M5 Real Estate. And if this is something that you enjoy, welcome aboard. And today I am going to speak about what is happening in our economy, which is something that has never died, but it is always growing and growing. In some countries, it has actually grown to above 100%. Inflation. Yeah, I am wanting to talk about inflation today, and I'm hoping that it is going to be helping us in what we are going to be talking about. It is a fact that inflation is in our country, it is around in the world. So how best do you beat inflation, especially utilizing real estate? It is a fact that petrol is going up. It is a fact that food prices are going up. It is a fact that your income, or should I say your salary, is not growing at the fastest speed of inflation, right? It is also a fact that your increment on a year-on-year is also not beating the inflation. And if that is the case, how then do you beat inflation? We know that if you are to jump from one salary income to another one, potentially at another job, maybe you can beat inflation. That's why you see people these days, they do not sit or do not stay at one employer like what our forefathers used to stay, like 15, 20, 30 years. 50 years of services on one employer. That doesn't happen anymore. People are generally on a job for like 2 years and then they hop on to the other one. Why is that happening like that? It's because people are trying to chase inflation. So if they hop on from one employer to the next one, potentially if they get like a 15%, a 20%, 25%, well, in this economy, you'll be very lucky. But there are those elites that might even get you into 100%. But this video is to talk to the general public, you and I, who would have potentially gotten through a 15%. I speak of this confidently because when I was employed, I also used to hop. So every 2 years, I would like, let me find a new employer. And I always used to think about it to say that the job is no longer exciting here. But that wasn't really the truth. The truth was that my expenses were fairly chasing very much close to how much I was earning. So my solution at that particular time was how best actually do I earn more? That was my solution. Whereas the other solution that you could be taking is how best can you save more and work more with what you have. So if you are living way below your means, then that doesn't have any impact on you because you're living way below your means. So there's living below your means, and then there's living way below. So for some people, they can actually afford to live on 50% of their income. Can you? 25%? Can you? That is a so. Even 75%? Can you? For some people, they live between 95% and 150 beyond their means. And that's just the reality of what is out there. Statistically, that's what they say, right? Well, the other thing is that here, right, your family might be growing. You might have a new family member that have come through, a baby, or you might be married now. So obviously from that perspective, your needs have grown. Or potentially as just an individual, your needs have grown. You've just gone on to buy a new car, or you've just gone on to buy a new house. So now you've got all of these other expenses. By the way, people go and buy cars and they don't know that there's another fee that needs to come on top of it, insurance, and then there's another fee of the petrol, and then there's another fee of maintenance, and all of those other things that crop up. So if you really look at it, sometimes on a car that you're paying off like a repayment of 4 grand, you might be actually be paying on a monthly basis way like double on the maintenance of the same vehicle. So you need to be checking out exactly how it's working out. But today I want to actually speak about how then do you beat inflation using property. So I've just given you some examples here of this is what's happening. The other one, the I mean, I've just given you an example here of how best actually, not how best, but this is the reality of our market in terms of what is happening. Inflation is growing, your needs are growing on one end, but how do you beat then the inflation? And this is what I actually want to stress out to talk about. You need to be having what is called a plan B. A plan B for me is actually where you can actually have an income. So you've got your primary income, which is your salary, that's great. Or you got your primary income, which is maybe a business that you own, whatever it is. And I want to introduce you guys to plan B. And the reason why I want to speak to you to plan B is because when I was employed myself, I didn't have a plan B until much later, shortly before I retired. Yes, I did retire. Yes, I did retire. You might have gotten that wrong. Yes, I did retire. I no longer work for any employer. I work for myself, and I'm an investor. That's what I do, but I didn't start off there. I started off being an employee, and I figured out that there is a problem here. And the problem is that I am reliant on one income. So how best now can I have a second income, a third income, and a fourth income? And I realized that I had a problem. And the problem was that my financial intelligence was very weak or poor, even though I used to work for the bank, right? I didn't know investments. I didn't know any of those things, even though at the bank they were there. But the point is that it was all about me. I was not financially savvy. So how do you become financially savvy? And that's the question that I want to plant in your head to say you need to become financially savvy. One of the things that you can do is actually to get this book. That's not a book, that's a game actually. And it talks about many things in there where you can do, so you can do it in a game sort of like, and you can learn how to do all of those things. Well, for me, actually property became plan B because I went out and I started looking for options. And at one point I went into another business and I did another business that failed dismally. And then eventually I got through onto property. And by the way, I write about those books, about all of those businesses in a book like this one, which is called From Bad Debt to Property Mogul. You might not be in debt, but this book can also help you to navigate your entry level into property and how you can actually grow. And why did I choose property? I chose property because on my first deal that I did, or should I say when I started going through attending seminars and going into classes, I realized that I actually enjoy property. And I like what it gives me because it can give me an asset today. I can put in a tenant, a tenant pays off my debt, and out of it, I am growing my portfolio as I grow. My job is to maintain it. Well, that's an easy job, I thought, right? But the bottom line is, it then became my plan B, and that is now become actually my income. So I've got multiple properties that gives me income. So I'm not reliant on one building. I'm not reliant on one city. I'm in multiple cities. So again, that's my plan B. So the question that I want to drop in your minds today is, what is your plan B? That's all I want to drop into your mind. What is your plan B? If you could answer that, then that's great. But if you cannot answer that, I want to invite you to say property could be your plan B. And if you don't know that property can give you some cash flow, I want to give you an example of a property small deal that I did. And I did this back in the days, and it was a small property that I bought, a 2-bed, 1-bath. We can all achieve to buy that one. I bought it for 160,000, whereas it was being advertised for 390. I learned how to negotiate because I went to school, right? I went to school and I learned how to negotiate. Out of it, I put in an additional 50,000. And from that 50,000, I was able actually to be all in that deal for 210. Out of the 210, I was able now to gain rent from the same property of 5,000. If you do the mathematics there, you'll be able to see that I was making profit. Now, the same profit I was getting there, I want to ask you a question to say, if I were to give you today the same profit that you calculated, we're going to make an assumption that there was some expenses of 1,000 rand. So it's 5,000 rand that we're getting. Let's assume that I borrowed the 210. So there's a 2,000 rand, debt that we need to pay, repayment there. So we subtract that from 5,000 rand. So that means that we're left with 3,000. And we subtract another 1,000 rand. That means that we are left with 2,000. If I'm to give you 2,000 rand today, passive income, what would you do? You are at your employer, you're still employed, and I'm just going to give you 2,000 rand. As a plan B, is that a great plan B? I think it is. So what if you are to buy 5 of those? Now you got 10 grand. What if you are to buy 10 of those? You are now on 20 grand. And that is passive income. That can be your plan B. Anyone can do it. If you don't know how to do it, we've got a school that is called the M5 Property Varsity, and you can learn how to do that. But that's not the point. The point that I'm trying to drive to here is we are always talking about inflation, increments in petrol, increment in food. If the food really increases and you got an extra 2,000 that's coming, does it really affect you? The answer is no. If petrol goes up and in your income, your primary income, you can afford it right now, but petrol goes up with maybe 5 rand or whatever the case is, and you got a 2,000 rand that's coming in, passive income that's also growing, are you going to be worried about it? Again, the answer is no. And this is what it's all about. I rest my case on whether you should be having a plan B or not. I rest my case whether you should be in real estate for passive income as your plan B. It is steady. You will get it monthly. You will get it consistently. And that's why I love property. Well, my name is TJ. I am hoping that I've excited you a little bit, given you some awareness a little bit. These were some of the problems that used to worry me when I was employed, of how best can I solve this? How can I beat inflation? How can I gain a little bit more than what I am? And this is the solution. Anyone can do it. Check you out later. It is I, Taurai Jack. We check you on the rebound. Cheers. God bless. Bye.